This is ION Hong Kong with Key.
And this is Harminder, and we'll be discussing the top news for the week involving Hong Kong and China.
Hi everyone, this is 33rd of the ION Hong Kong, and today we have Lee. And if you have listened to our ION Hong Kong episodes before, then you will be familiar with Lee. And welcome, Lee.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. Harminder, how are you?
Can you hear us in India?
Is it still cold in India?
Yes. Lee, what are you doing here?
I don't know. You invited me.
Right, because I don't want to talk alone. And yeah, so this week Hong Kong quite interesting too.
Is there ever a week when Hong Kong is not interesting?
Wow, true. And this week, I think the big news is about the policy address by C.Y. Leung.
Yes. I didn't watch it, but I read about it.
Yeah.
I can't stand watching that man. I have a very interesting opening question.
For C.Y. Leung?
For C.Y. Leung, if you're watching. C.Y., can you answer this question? Why did you start your policy address in your first paragraph or your first section? Why did you talk about a 10-month-old Hong Kong Student Union magazine that talked about Hong Kong self-sufficiency and also an article that was about Hong Kong independence? Why did you start your policy address talking of those issues?
Maybe he thinks it's very important issue here, and it's apparently the idea of independence of Hong Kong seems to be quite becoming more popular these days. Would you say that? Would you say that is becoming more popular?
I don't know the issue of independence is becoming popular. I mean, the only reference that I can think of recently was when the guys broke into the PLA barracks. They were Hong Kong independence agitators. Right?
Oh, right.
That was last 2 years ago, year and a half ago?
Yeah.
I wonder why he started off his policy address talking about that, because he must have known that by mentioning Undergrad magazine, it's called Undergrad, it's published by the Hong Kong Students' Union, the mere fact of mentioning the Undergrad magazine is going to have boosted its sales, and people are going to try and get copies of it, people are going to access it, people are going to read it. He must have known that. If he didn't realise that, then he's a complete idiot. So he must have known that.
Is he trying to promote the idea, actually?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is there some kind of double agent activity going on here? Is he really actually in support of the pan-democratic movement and the pro-democracy movement and Hong Kong independence? Because if he's forcing people to take more of an interest in the issue of Hong Kong independence, then he's doing a very good job about it. Or is he deliberately? So he can't have mentioned it without realising that people would want to see this. So it's been sold out. So they're doing another print run of 3,000. So why did he do this? Is he a double agent?
So maybe we can name him as the father of Hong Kong independence very soon. Okay. We should thank him. But talking about the content of the magazine and the book, and it seems that actually what they're saying that Hong Kong could be self-sufficient, but at the same time, in the conclusion is they're saying that Hong Kong is not possible to get independence because we have very strong country in the north side, so it's not very practical to do that, and a lot of Hong Kong people still have this very close connection with PLC, so it's not totally a good idea or practical idea to have Hong Kong to be independent actually. So,
but is he using this as a way to agitate to come up with an excuse and a justification for trying to reintroduce Article 23?
I think it seems to some netizens and some people actually suggested that, say that because it would be a good excuse for him to reintroduce the Article 23 when they talk about the national security, and because this idea would definitely jeopardize the unity of China. So it seems so.
So you think he's deliberately muddying the waters, creating a storm so that he can try and bring out Article 23, and he can say, look at all these terrible students. There were 10,000 copies of this seditious magazine saying that we should be an independent territory rather than part of PRC. Therefore, it's absolutely essential that we have Article 23. Do you think he's doing it for that reason?
It seems so. I would say that is one of the suspicions that I would have in mind. And at the same time, then of course I asked the question that why would he do that? Any purpose or any agenda behind doing that? If he can get the Article 23 passed, what do you think? What is his hidden agenda?
Because then he gets his place on the standing committee. He's a good boy in Beijing's eyes, so he gets a place on the NPC.
So that would be one of the big achievement in his academic results.
Well, I guess it's his investment for his own retirement fund, isn't it? So that if he can get Article 23 passed, he's a very good boy and he gets his place on the standing committee. Everybody in Beijing loves him, so maybe it's his investment in doing that.
Right.
But I do question if he's ostensibly the leader of this place, right? His role is he has responsibility to the Hong Kong people and to Beijing. Under basic law, he has responsibility for both.
Right.
As the leader of the SAR, he has the responsibility for uniting the people in the SAR and getting things done. That's his job. If he deliberately provokes a situation which is always already very polarized and very volatile, if he deliberately provokes the students or the pro-democracy side even more, when shortly after the protests he should be doing the opposite. He should be trying to look for ways to reconcile the two sides. Is he doing that for a reason? Is he doing that because he deliberately wants to agitate, or just because he's a nasty person, or because he's finding a way for the 31st August proposals to collapse so that the current system is sustained, so that he is automatically re-voted next time round? Is that the reason why he's doing it? Do you think he really wants universal suffrage in 2017 to be a reality, or he wants it to fail?
According to him, or at least from the slogan of the policy address, it seems that he's still saying that, we are trying to get the democracy and the universal suffrage. But according to his interpretation of universal suffrage, it's only one man, one vote, but not about the right to stand for the election, not about the equality of the election. It seems that he's still trying to meddle with some words like universal suffrage, where they're trying to make it like one man, one vote is the universal suffrage. Then that's, if you say that he's promoting universal suffrage, then I don't think so. I don't think he really genuinely believes in universal suffrage.
And do you think he benefits from having universal suffrage, or he benefits from not having universal suffrage?
I would say he will benefit without it, the real universal suffrage that we fight for, but not the one that he meant.
Would he benefit from the fake 31st August version of universal suffrage?
I would say so.
So I think we need to look at him. We need to look at him as an individual, because I don't think he has any allies anywhere. I think he obviously does not have allies in the pan-democratic side of the argument. His popularity rating is pretty low, although it's actually in the 40%.
Not too low,
Not too low. You're right. It's in the 40%. So there is still a fair minority, a large minority of people who support him.
But compared with the previous chief executives in Hong Kong, he's the lowest. So
I just don't trust the guy. I don't think anybody does. I don't think the pro-establishment side trusts him either.
Why do you say so? Because recently the Peking government telling people that if supporting CYI is supporting the PRC, the central government.
Yeah, so why did the central government feel the need to say that?
Because they want to unite the pro-establishment people, saying that you have to support CYI.
But are they doing that because they think there's another James Teen waiting to happen?
Very likely. But at least I would say that the legislators or the people from DAB would not be James Teen. It wouldn't be James Teen, right?
Well, he's already lost his place on the standing committee, right? Oh, no, he wasn't on the standing committee. I'm sorry, on the CPCC.
Yeah.
So he's spoken out against Siwa Leung. I can't believe that of all the pro-establishment lawmakers, that they all like him or they all support him. So something is in the air. I get the feeling that something is in the air amongst the pro-establishment politicians, that some of them are blatantly thinking of speaking out against him, and so Beijing is trying to whip them into being supporting CY so that they present a unified front. That's the feeling that I get. That must be the reason why they've done that. How can they equate supporting CY with supporting the central government? They've made the two directly comparable.
But there's always one saying among the local Cantonese speaker, we say that once the PRC blow the whistle, and all these running dogs of PRC will, bark together. So probably that's one of the effects that they're trying to make it to the pro-establishment people. That once the PRC say that, oh, you have to support CYLN, then you have to. That means that you support us.
So you think they're worried that they're breaking down into various packs of dogs rather than one?
Maybe.
And what would happen if that happened? Isn't that going to happen anyway? If we had 2 or 3 candidates for chief executive in 2017, right? Let's just suppose that the 31st of August proposal gets passed.
Yeah.
In the unlikely event it gets passed. If that happens, then we're going to have 2 or 3 pro-establishment figures fighting each other to be CE.
Yes.
So that is going to mean that the pro-establishment camp is going to be divided.
So it would be a good chance for the Pandan to,
well, there was an interesting there's an interesting article that I read this week saying, isn't one of those candidates going to require some pan-democratic backing? So they're going to be looking for a pan-democratic party or member or voice or somebody to support their candidature. So they're going to be making overtures to the pan-democratic side so that they have a better chance of winning. So they're going to be trying to find a way to get the voting public, which is generally speaking pan-democrat, that part of the voting public, to support their candidature.
Okay. Interesting.
So I don't know why they feel they need to whip them into one group, because the proposal itself is going to divide them into several groups. So the natural consequence of the chief executive election is to have 2 or 3 pro-establishment people competing against each other.
Yeah. So it would be better to put one Pandem candidate for them to attack.
Yeah, you would have thought so. Strategically, I don't understand them. Because their own proposal is actually a divisive thing for their own side.
But from the previous chief executive election was even you will find another pro-establishment candidate in the election. That one is actually a puppet or just extra in a drama. He's not actually running it. He just be there and be the background of the real guy. But before it was CYLN, we thought that he was the background guy and he would be just be there, and that is Henry Tang to get elected. But certainly no one knows why. Then he won.
Because of Henry Tang's illegal structures.
Because someone leaked out some.
Because someone leaked about Henry Tang's illegal structures, but didn't leak about CY's illegal structures.
Very interesting.
Which were worse than Henry Tang's illegal structures.
Indeed, actually. Yeah. So
lots of Machiavellian movements going on there.
So since CYLN is such a good boy, so he got rewarded this week, that he got a salary.
He got a salary rise. He got a pay rise. He got a pay rise from, wait for this, is 350,000 Hong Kong dollars a month to 370,000 Hong Kong dollars a month. So it doesn't matter what currency you think in, that's actually quite a big rise. So it's a rise of 20,000 HKD a month.
Right.
Okay, and given that the median salary in Hong Kong is $14,000 or $15,000, his pay rise in 1 year exceeds what most people live on in Hong Kong every month.
So
his pay rise.
So you are one of the taxpayers here, and what do you think about that? How do you feel? Are you happy that he got more money?
I'm more concerned that it doesn't appear that he's willing to tell us whether he paid tax on his $50 million that he got paid the day before he took office.
Oh, wow.
He hasn't said whether he paid it or he hasn't paid it. He just said he took the advice of his professional tax advisors. So that's a way of avoiding the question. So when people avoid the question, you tend to have to assume that they don't want to tell you what they really did.
Or he thinks that it's not necessary to explain to the public because he's, I don't really care. You don't vote for me. So.
Well, then we come down to the whole issue of transparency in public office and conflicts of interest and the reality of keeping to the law or the appearance of keeping to the law. Okay, he may well have complied with all of the requirements and the standards of public office that he's required to comply with. He may well have complied with all of the tax code, but people don't think that he did. Okay, people can't find the evidence to prove that he didn't, but the perception is there that he didn't. Okay, so we can't be arrested for saying that people don't think you did pay your tax. But that's the suspicion that people have. So public servants have to work on the basis that they comply with the law, the letter, and they also have to comply with appearing to have complied with the law.
Right.
And he obviously doesn't care about that.
It's very interesting during the policy address, and then people, of course, raised some question about that, and he refused to answer. And then he also mentioned foreign interference because the pandemic, they used the HSBC account for, getting donation. And then they said...
Did they speak to Laura Cha directly to get that?
Well...
Laura Cha, Executive Committee member Laura Cha.
I think they should, right? And then...
So, she who thinks that black people should wait 100 years to get the vote. Her.
Yes. So it seems that CY Leung is trying to suggest that using HSBC is one of the way that the foreign intervention get involved. So what about his money from Australia? Is it a foreign intervention as well? It's quite interesting.
That's interesting. I don't know. What about his kids who study in British universities? They must have been indoctrinated with British idealism.
Yeah.
Is that foreign interference?
Apparently.
He studied in Bristol. He went to the same university as I did. Actually, no, he didn't. He went to a lesser university than the one that I went to, but in the same city. Does his British education mean that he was inculcated with British values and therefore is a foreign interference in Hong Kong?
So are you saying that he's a double agent?
It's looking very much like it. Come on, CY, are you a double agent? Fess up, man, fess up. We need to know. The people want to know.
Yeah.
Do we have to look into what you're saying or what you're not saying, or do we have to read in between every single line of what you say? What about the visas thing, though? That was the other thing that struck me about the policy address. First, there were various things going on. There's all kind of simultaneous movement in Hong Kong and in China. I shouldn't say that because Hong Kong is part of China, and in the PRC, let's just say, across the border in mainland. Firstly, he scrapped the $10 million investment scheme. Now, my understanding of that is that if you came here with $10 million, you get a visa. Right? So lots of people came here with $10 million, bought a property, got a visa, and then left.
To where? Why?
So, don't know.
Why do they want the residents here, but they don't live here?
Well, apparently very few of the people who invested $10 million actually stayed.
But then why do they want the residents here?
I don't know.
The thing is that I don't understand why they pick Hong Kong, because it's not really that great. And then why do you want to?
Well, because I suppose if you're trying to find a way out of mainland China, if you're a mainlander and you want to find a way out, then it's one way of
But
doing
if I got
that.
that money, then I go to other places like Spain, Canada, or
Greece.
Yeah.
If you invest $10 million Hong Kong dollars, you get a Greek visa.
Exactly. Then it with EU passport, right?
Yes.
So it's much better than Hong Kong passport. So don't come to Hong Kong, go to Greece.
So this is one thing that I have to agree with CY Leung, that I think it was a good idea to scrap that system, that visa system, because all it did was pump up the property market, and people came here with money, invested it, and then left. So it boosted the property market, but did nothing in terms of bringing talent to the city. So I think that his decision there,
quite right,
take my hat off to you, man, was actually a good decision, which is why most of the people on the pro-establishment side are irritated by it.
Why? I thought that, it's good for Hong Kong people.
Because they've got money here? I don't know.
Okay.
Because they're property owners and their prices of their properties might go down. Who knows? I don't know.
So, but at the same time, the CY Leung in his policy address would like to attract more foreign talent to Hong Kong, so that we have
people like me.
Of course, for you. And then, but it seems that the response from the local people is not very good, because a lot of people saying that they are actually trying to colonize Hong Kong, and with replacing Hong Kong people with the PRC people to attract more middle class people from China. And according to some netizens, they explain, and then they make some graphic on the internet, the industry involved quite wide. And one is they gave us these examples like lawyers, dentists, social worker, PR manager, and
finance
professionals, and the sales of these financial products, salesperson of these financial products. It involved quite a lot of industry. It seems that are they the real talents that Hong Kong needs, or they are just some policy that like the Latin said is a colonization? What do you think?
Well, I don't think they specifically said that it was a mainlander thing that they were trying to do. They didn't say they were trying to get mainlander talent. They just said they were trying to get talent. Right. They were trying to get qualified people. So I don't think it's a specifically pro-mainlander colonization policy. I don't think so.
Yeah, when you look at the surface of it, then.
When you look at the surface of it. But if you look at the details of this, well, actually, the details haven't been published. These are just proposals at the moment, right? You have to look at some of the things that go beyond this. If they're looking for talented people to move here, if they're looking for professionals to move here, if they're looking for doctors to move here to fulfill the doctor shortage, if they're looking for dentists, they're looking for English teachers, whatever, okay? They're looking to fill these skills gaps, construction workers as well, then they have to look wide and they have to make Hong Kong an attractive place for these people to move to, because these people who will move here are internationally mobile. Okay, so people will choose to live here and they will compare here with Singapore, Taiwan, staying at home, going to Shanghai, maybe going to India, maybe moving to the States. These people can move around. So if they want to attract this kind of talent, then they have to make Hong Kong a good place to live, and they have to make it.
You as a foreign talent, then what do you think that that attract other foreign talents to come to Hong Kong?
The fact that it's a good place to live, it's an exciting place to live, it's a safe place to live.
With these violent students, protesters?
With these terribly violent students who put post-it stickers on walls, yes. The reason why I came to Hong Kong is because I found it an exciting city. It's a great place. It's an attractive city. It's a safe city. I could have the lifestyle that I wanted to have here. The tax rates are very low. Admittedly, that's a motivation for lots of people. Admittedly, the size of the rear end of most human beings is also an issue that most white people will look at. I'm sorry to be so crude, but that is unfortunately the issue. Straight or gay, they will look at the size of the local population and be attracted to it. That, unfortunately, is an issue. But there are lots of different reasons why people come here. Now, would they continue to stay here, or would they come, even more people, would they come here if the situation here becomes more unstable? I question that. I am questioning that myself. When I came here, I had no idea what was going on in Hong Kong other than the history of one country, two systems. But now I am more up to speed about what's going on. I'm severely frightened by what's happening here. The prospects.
What frightened you so much?
I think that whichever way you look at the next 5 to 10 years, the situation is very depressing.
And what was your opinion? What happened in the future?
We're either going to have Si Wei Lung for another 5 years, or we'll have Regina Ip for the next chief executive. And we will have another attempt to introduce national education. We'll have another attempt to reintroduce Article 23. This means more protests. It means an illegitimate government. It means a government that has no support of the people. It means continual uncertainty and continual protests, all in the name of the national security of the PRC.
So are you saying that actually all the problem from the government, not from these violent students, protesters? So all these examples that you cite that actually is about Si Wei Lung and the Regina Ip, Article 23, and it's all about the government trying to restrict the freedom of Hong Kong or have a dictatorship here, not a.
Well, I think the government really needs to take a hard look at itself in the mirror, because there is a serious demographic issue in Hong Kong. There is a serious. They recognise that. Everybody recognises that. The demographic issue. We have a shortage of labour projected in 2018, so that's 3 years away. We have a demographic time bomb in that the Hong Kong population replacement rate is well below what you need to have a stable population in terms of age distribution. I'm an actuary, so I know this geeky stuff. So the population replacement rate is about half of what it should be. So people need to have twice as many babies as they're having. So there are several ways that you can deal with this. Like firstly,
have more sex.
Have more sex.
And
seriously, that's a serious policy issue. It's something that Singapore addressed a few years ago. You need to have more sex.
So there
needs to be proper daycare for kids. There needs to be better apartments. There needs to be more work-life balance in terms of letting people go home, having a social life, having a home life. These are very, very important cultural things. That's the first thing. That's one way of dealing with it, having more babies. Second way of dealing with it is having more immigration.
I see. Okay. But I see the government actually tries to use these foreign talent scheme or the family reunion scheme to encourage more to change the population, to have more new people, to have more younger people. Would you say that that was successful in the past year with this scheme? Are there more workforce for Hong Kong?
You're talking about second generation people coming back, or people from overseas coming in anyway?
Both. It
doesn't seem to be. I don't know what the net migration rates are. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be It doesn't seem to be a problem at the moment because there's very low unemployment.
Right.
But we're going to get to the stage where there is very high vacancy rates that companies can't fill. I think there are already, in the sector that I know, there are already talent shortages in terms of work experience. There are technically qualified people, but there are not managerially qualified people. And that's an issue that most companies face. They can find people who are good technically, but they can't find people who are good managerially or strategically or good enough at thinking. And that problem will get worse. I think the government recognises the problem, and I take my hat off to Carrie Lam because she's responsible for this particular issue of government policy. They recognise there's a problem. They mentioned that 800,000 people have left, but they haven't actually tried to diagnose why 800,000 people left. They say that they want to get second generation people to come back on a visa-free entry. So these are the kids of the people who left, that they can come back to Hong Kong on a visa-free basis for a couple of years. That, I think, is a good idea. And it might go some way to supporting to dealing with the issue. But fundamentally, if they want to attract talent, they have to look at whether Hong Kong is an attractive place to live or it's an attractive place to stay. And if you're a peasant from rural wherever, and I'm not picking on mainland China, from rural wherever, and you get a free visa to come, then of course you're going to come.
Right.
If you're a professional who's qualified, who's an intelligent, internationally mobile person, are you going to want to come to a place that's in permanent social conflict with an illegitimate government? No. If you're concerned about press freedom, if you're concerned about the self-censorship of the press, that kind of thing, then you're not going to want to come here.
But is it these kind of freedom stuff, is it really the concern of the expat? Because usually the expats in a place, they're quite, I would say, indifferent to the politics or the freedom of the locals.
I think that's true, but I don't think that's true for everybody.
So it would be better for the Hong Kong government to relax more freedom to Hong Kong, or you would say that no more Article 23 or no more Internet Article 23?
They have to look very seriously at whether things like censorship of the press, self-censorship.
Right.
Okay,
is it more important?
It's more important. I think the issues of self-censorship, and this is applicable worldwide as well, the issues of self-censorship, both from a business perspective and from a communications media perspective, are very, very important issues. There are many companies that are self-censoring or are refusing to do certain things, refusing to carry adverts for companies which have got anti-Beijing stances. And that's very dangerous because the situation is so politicized at the moment that is going to affect commerce.
Right. Like this week, outside Apple Daily, the office of Apple Daily, they found a flame bomb. So it's actually threatening the freedom of speech because Apple is the only one that truly support the democracy in Hong Kong. And it's quite sad that it seems that it's just a small news here for the past week because of the...
Nobody got killed, 3 fire bombs, but nobody spoke out against it.
Yeah.
But it's as serious in principle as Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. A lot of people going for the rally because of what happened in France, in Paris, but seems that no people going out for Apple Daily.
Exactly. Exactly. One specific thing that they didn't mention that they could do to attract talent is that there is no recognition of gay partnerships in Hong Kong. So people who are in a gay marriage or gay civil partnership or gay relationship and want to move to Hong Kong, they can't do that. They cannot bring their partners here.
True.
So that stops many people from moving here. Now, that is a very simple thing to change, that they can give a visa to the partner of gay people in the same way that they give spouses visas to the partners of straight people when they come here. That would attract talent. In fact, that could potentially attract a lot of talent because there's no other place in Asia that currently does that.
That's true.
Possibly Taiwan. I believe Vietnam does now. But that is a very simple thing that the government could do. And without wishing to be prejudiced or otherwise, the proportion of professionals, so the professional class that's gay, is higher than the proportion of the general population that's gay. So gay people do form a significant proportion of the internationally mobile population.
Okay, and then we will have the second part, and then please stay on.